Welcome to GMFB, hour number 2. What's up, everybody? My name's Kay Adams. Nate Burleson and Kyle Brent are back from the basement. Peter Schrager. I'm excited for the rest of the show. We have Levante David joining us, and that story of your wife's pregnancy really made my day. It's a crazy memory. I feel like you were kind of in shock, Schrags, because you were like, I'll finish the segment. I'll finish Which Guy Wants To? And I was like, what are you talking about? Do you remember that at all?
Yes, Kay, we had to talk about, my wife was going into labor. I got the text on my phone and we finished a segment because that's what you do your job. And I was talking if LaShawn McCoy could have 80 yards against the Eagles defense. And I don't know, sure, that was important that day.
Your face was like, okay, I love that. Great memories. Long time we've been doing this program. At GMFB with your thoughts, this is the Lead Block.
Lead Block.
Lead Block. Lead Block.
And let's start with these Packers, shall we? They drafted Jordan Love with the 26th overall pick. We've been talking about this a lot, and much to the chagrin of quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And with more on Rodgers' reaction, let's send it over and welcome in Stacey Dales. Hey, Stace.
Packers QB Aaron Rodgers recently admitted he was as surprised as many that the team jumped 4 spots in the first round of this year's draft to take Utah State quarterback Jordan Love, even saying he wasn't necessarily thrilled with the pick. That said, was the surprise more about the notion that the team didn't get him another weapon to put them over the top, or that they drafted a player who may one day replace him? He answered.
I think it's more, it was more the surprise of the pick based on my own feelings of wanting to play into my 40s, and then really the realization that it does change the controllables a little bit, because as much as, I feel confident in my abilities and what I can accomplish and what we can accomplish, there are some new factors that are out of my control.
Rodgers is 36, entering year 16. He wants to play, as you heard, into his 40s. He also understands the Packers are preparing for the now as well as the future, and that ultimately with this pick, and despite his desire to start and finish with the same organization, that, quote, may no longer be a reality.
Thanks so much, Stacey. Here's what you're looking at. This is a peek inside Aaron Rodgers' trophy case. 2 league MVPs, just 1 Super Bowl. And if you look at where he compares and stacks up, yeah, there you have it. Can he be in the conversation for the greatest? Yesterday, I brought this up. We were talking about things that motivate him. Will Jordan Love up his motivation to a crazy degree? And you guys couldn't respond really because of the way that we're set up being in different places. So I want to really have this discussion right now. Because he gets a lot of criticism. Is he one of the greatest? Can he be in that world if he just has that 1 ring? So Nate, if a packed trophy case is the biggest determining factor in measuring a player's greatness, can Rodgers really be considered in that convo without having 2?
I don't believe a packed trophy case is the biggest determining factor in a player's greatness. And I'm not just saying it because I didn't even play in a Super Bowl. I just feel like when it comes to greats in this game, you respect them for the product that they put out on the field. Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl ring, and if you look at his numbers, he still has the consistency that matches him up with the guys that we praise all the time. If we're going to sit here and say that Drew Brees is undisputed Hall of Famer, he's one of the greatest of all times, sitting on 1 Super Bowl ring, then we should be saying the same thing about Aaron Rodgers. They're both great. They both have done it over the course of their career. So let's appreciate the fact that he's already in the conversation of greatness. If he gets another ring, then that is just a cherry on top.
This is such a great question, and it's such a great time to ask this question. Because I think we're in a time right now where there's a lot of people sitting around with nothing to do and really thinking through these things. Case in point, a little ways back, the network replayed an old Dolphins game. It was Dolphins-Patriots from the 90s. And people are coming out of the woodwork saying, you know what, let's rethink this whole thing. Dan Marino is the best quarterback ever. Never mind all of this. Never mind Montana. Never mind Mahomes, Brady. It's Marino. And yet Marino has constantly been a punchline for 25 years. And I don't think it's fair. Let me tell you why. The nature of this game, this is what makes it so difficult, is that, yes, the quarterbacks are really responsible for what happens, but there's only so much they could do. There's a lot of... Dan Marino does not have a Super Bowl ring because Dan Marino started showing up to the playoffs and choking. He wasn't the GM. He wasn't the linebacker. Look at the guys on that list. Brett Favre, I don't sympathize for or sympathize with because Brett Favre blew it a bunch of times. There were big losses that were his fault. Peyton Manning, same deal. All right, he only got 2 Super Bowls because, as we know, especially early in his career, he would get his clock cleaned by the Patriots, and he threw a huge pick against the Saints. What brings me to Rodgers is I look at the 1 Super Bowl title, and I'm trying to think of Rodgers' losses in the playoffs, and here's what I see. I see Colin Kaepernick running unchecked for hundreds of thousands of yards while Rodgers is standing on the sideline. I see an onside kick against Seattle that if it lands in Jordy Nelson's hand, Rodgers is going to the Super Bowl. I see a Falcons team that absolutely just went through him and Rodgers had nothing to do with it. The Packers had nothing for them. So people like Rodgers with 1, people like Marino with 0. Is it their fault? Did they need to make more plays? I don't look at it like basketball. Basketball, you can play D. Jordan got the big steal from Malone. He can do it on both ends. It's more like baseball. And Peter, I know you'll get this. The Aaron Rodgers having 1 Super Bowl, it feels a lot to me like in the early 90s, whether it was Maddox, Glavine, or Smoltz on those incredible Braves teams and Braves staffs that only got 1. And it wasn't because Maddox wasn't good. It's because they weren't getting hitting support. There's nothing he could do about it. It's so much more complicated than just looking at that Super Bowl number and saying, that's it.
Yeah, no, and that 95 Braves season, Dave Justice hits the home run, and away we go. We got our ring, and we can put that to bed. Sometimes you just got to win it, and Rodgers won it. Like, he's got his ring. To me, I look at this. If you're going to hold Rodgers to that, you got to hold Drew Brees to that. Drew Brees has never won MVP and has 1 ring, and yet when Drew Brees is on the field breaking all these statistical records, we always hail Drew Brees as, he's in the conversation for the greatest quarterback of all time. I got to put Rodgers above Brees if we grade it by rings because Rodgers has his, and he did it with a team that didn't necessarily have all pros at every position. I love Greg Jennings and Ryan Grant, but it wasn't like Rodgers and that team in 2010. They had a bunch of guys who are going to the Hall of Fame. Here's the deal. Marino, 8-10 in the playoffs. Rodgers, better record in the playoffs. Dan Fouts, we love Dan Fouts, Hall of Famer. No one questions Dan Fouts. 1-6 in the 1 playoff win for Dan Fouts in the Hall of Fame. Warren Moon, 3-7 in the Hall of Fame. These are all their playoff records. Like, not good. And yet you never hear the conversation of, well, Warren Moon couldn't win the big one, or Dan Fouts is a loser because he went 1-6. No, we cherish the past, and we always treat these guys with such reverence. And yet here we have Rodgers in current day, in the present time, taking teams that should not be going to the NFC Championship game with a first-year coach going 13-3, and right away out of it, we're saying, unfulfilled expectations. What a letdown for Rodgers. I don't know. I feel like we hold Rodgers to a very different standard than other quarterbacks, both in history and in current day. You never hear anyone say Drew Brees can't win the big one, but I've seen Drew Brees lose to Alex Smith in San Francisco. I've seen Drew Brees lose to Jared Goff at home, and I've seen Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen make the big plays when Drew Brees and Mike Thomas couldn't last year in the playoff game. Rodgers is held to this crazy standard. Maybe it's because of his personality. Maybe it's because of the Packers legend and lore. I just think Rodgers has had an incredible career, and if rings are the stature and the standard, he's in the conversation. He's got one.
But aren't rings the standard? Peter, you would know this answer to this question better than everybody because you know how those voters vote. If we're using the Hall of Fame as the ultimate measure of how good a guy is. So it seems like what we're saying is that it's not necessarily fair because football is the ultimate team sport, but it does take you to a completely different level, a completely different conversation if you have to. There's only 12 guys in the history of the game to win multiple Super Bowls, right?
Yeah, look, he's going to Hall of Fame first ballot regardless, I think. I can't imagine anyone voting against him. To be the greatest ever, though, the greatest ever, you do have to have probably a couple of rings to be in that conversation.
Love it. We'll leave that conversation there. I'm sure we'll bring up the Packers in an A block coming to theaters.
So much to say about this. That's such a great topic. Go ahead.
Go for it.
You're right.
Talk later.
No, tell me. No, we want to know.
Rodgers is held to different standards because Rodgers is much more talented. Peter, Warren Moon and Dan Fouts, they're great players. They're not in the GOAT conversation. Aaron Rodgers gets talked about as the best to ever throw a pass in the NFL. That's why he's not even in the same universe as Dan Fouts. That's why it's held to different standards, and that's why the Drew Brees comparison is very apt, because there's a Brees army out there that says he's the GOAT.
And let me add this, because I know people at home are saying these guys are hating on Brees. No, we're fans of Brees. We're also fans of Rodgers. When you look at the average touchdowns per year, even the points per game, Aaron Rodgers is right there on par with Drew Brees. Aaron Rodgers actually has a better winning percentage over his career than Drew Brees. And if you want to extrapolate the numbers through 18 seasons,